Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. It's 2023, late evening, maybe 10:00 p.m. in a suit. There's this three-story house, relatively new.
Right. And inside, on the third floor, in this kind of secluded room they used, well, for intimacy.
You have Yousri and Amal, they're school teachers, married 17 years, 5 kids. A normal evening, seemingly.
Totally normal. The act itself concludes, as usual. They're comfortable, familiar.
And then Amal asks Yousri to close his eyes. She says she has a surprise for him.
And he doesn't. Instantly. Why wouldn't he? 17 years of marriage builds that kind of trust, doesn't it?
Exactly, absolute trust. And in that moment of vulnerability, when his eyes are closed,
She attacks him with a knife.
a knife she'd bought a month earlier, it was incredibly swift. The reports say he didn't even struggle. He died right there.
It's just chilling. The contrast is so stark. How does this happen? How does Amal, this respected teacher, a mother, go from, a loving wife to a calculated killer?
That's what we're exploring today. This wasn't sudden madness. We're going to trace the path, those 17 years that led to this moment of, well, extreme paranoia and violence.
We have to go back to the beginning, right? 2006, a suit governorate.
What were they like then?
By all accounts, the perfect couple. Everyone said so. Both successful teachers, deeply respected in the community. Their marriage seemed solid, built on mutual admiration, family respect, the whole package.
They started small, I gather. A small apartment.
Yeah, but they had this shared dream, this big 3-story house for their future family.
Mm-hmm.
And they were ambitious, really driven.
And the private tutoring, that really boosted their income, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They were good teachers and parents specifically sought them out. So their financial situation just took off much faster than typical teacher salaries would allow.
And the family grew alongside the finances.
Right. First child after a year.
Yeah.
Second by year 3. Third by year 5. More kids, more responsibility, but also more wealth.
But this is where the shadow appears. Amal starts developing this fear.
A very specific fear. Hasad. The evil eye. Or maybe just intense professional jealousy.
Which in that cultural context is seen as a real destructive force, yeah, not just passive envy.
Exactly. It can actively bring harm, people believe. And Amal felt it. She saw colleagues looking at them, questioning how they were managing all the success on teachers' salaries. It wasn't just in her head. She perceived it externally.
And that external pressure started eating away at her internally.
Precisely. Then comes this turning point, about 5 years in. An acquaintance plants a seed.
What kind of seed?
Basically warns her, look, your husband's successful, you got 3 kids, you need to protect him, stop him from taking a second wife.
Wow. Even though Yousri was devoted.
Completely devoted, by all accounts. Amal apparently brushed it off at first, but the thought lodged itself in her mind. That fear of replacement, of betrayal, he was there, even if dormant.
And then they achieved the dream. 10 years in, around 2016.
They buy the house, the 3-story house, they move in.
Yeah.
And almost immediately they have their 4th and 5th children.
So the success becomes even more visible. The big house, 5 kids, the wealth.
And according to her perception, the envy from others ramps up significantly. It became visible. She started associating the new house, the realized dream, with this feeling of being watched, judged, almost like an unlucky omen.
So the external fear, the hasad, creates this internal vulnerability.
Critical weakness, yeah. And after the 5th child is born, her paranoia really spikes.
Even though Yousri himself showed no signs of wanting another wife or being unfaithful.
No signs at all. But the fear just took over. It shifted focus. It wasn't about protecting him from others anymore. It became about protecting her claim on him, protecting herself from him potentially leaving.
And this is where she starts looking for unconventional solutions.
Desperately, she starts talking to people involved in, well, sorcery protective rituals. She's looking for a guarantee, something external to control the situation because she feels powerless against the perceived envy and the planted fear.
Abandoning reason, really.
Completely, which leads her to Minya province and this so-called spiritual healer.
Ah, the charlatan.
Exactly. And he gives her something tangible. A book.
Not just any book, though.
No, a talismanic book. Filled with strange codes, letters, numbers, telesemes. The healer tells her this book is her ultimate protector. Need a charm. Need a spell for safety, for livelihood. The answer, the instructions, are supposedly hidden in these codes.
Wait, hold on. An educated woman, a teacher, stakes everything on a coded magic book from a stranger. Over 17 years of marriage and trust.
That's the absolute core of the tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The moment that book entered her home, her reality warped. Her belief in its power was total, and her behavior just.
Yeah.
It became increasingly erratic.
And Yousri finds out about this book.
He does, and he reacts like you'd expect a rational person, maybe a religious person, to react. He identifies it as sorcery, as forbidden, and demands she get rid of it.
Which, in her mind,
sealed his fate. Because he challenged the book, her protector, he instantly became the enemy, the thing she needed protection from.
So the fear of him leaving morphs into seeing him as actively hostile?
Yes. And then the delusion crystallizes into something very specific and very disturbing.
What was that?
She starts imagining, with absolute conviction, that Yousri is demanding forbidden, religiously unacceptable acts during their intimate relations.
Oh, wow. So she creates the specific sin he's supposedly committing.
Exactly. This becomes her justification. The reason he's now bad, the reason these violent thoughts she's starting to have are somehow righteous.
And we know forensically this was completely untrue.
Utterly false. The investigation confirmed it later. Yousri was known for his morals, but in her reality, this delusion was concrete fact.
Yousri must have noticed the change in her, the anxiety, the tension.
He did. He saw she was struggling, constantly agitated, having dark thoughts. And he did what a caring husband might do. He gently suggested she see the psychiatrist.
And she agreed, being educated herself.
Surprisingly, yes, she went for several visits, but here's where it gets even more terrifying.
How so?
The psychiatrist finds no major diagnosable mental illness, no psychosis, no schizophrenia. The doctor suggests maybe the anxiety has an organic cause, a physical root.
So no psychiatric diagnosis means?
It implies she wasn't clinically insane. Her mind, her ability to reason wasn't fundamentally broken by illness. It suggests she chose to surrender to this delusion, this dark influence.
That's horrifying, because if she's not ill, then Yousri's suggesting treatment
Becomes, in her warped view, proof of his betrayal. He's trying to cure her of the belief system that's now protecting her, the system centered around the talismanic books.
So killing him becomes the answer.
It becomes the necessary act in her mind to punish him for trying to undermine her protection, for supposedly committing those imagined sins, and for trying to treat her. The homicidal urge just grew stronger every day, fueled by this fixed, false idea.
He was no longer her husband. He was just a threat.
A threat that needed to be neutralized permanently.
Which brings us back to that night in 2023. This wasn't impulsive. It was planned.
Absolutely. The knife bought a month prior, the plan in place. After the murder itself, investigators believe she had this brief moment. A flicker of reality. Shock. Realization of what she'd done.
But it didn't last.
No. The panic, the controlling delusion, slammed back down, and that panic led her to the next horrifying step. The cover-up.
She decides to make it look like Yousri did it. A murder-suicide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Claiming he couldn't live with the guilt of, well, of the things she imagined he'd done.
But to make that believable.
She needed another victim.
Yeah.
To show his supposed despair and rage.
Oh, no.
Around 12:30 a.m., she goes downstairs to the second floor.
Where the children were sleeping.
She enters her youngest son's room, and she stabs him in the abdomen.
Just, I can't even fathom that level of calculated desperation.
The boy screams, naturally, wakes the other children. Amal shifts instantly into distraught mother mode. Rushes down, says the father Yousri, hurt the boy. They have to get him to the hospital immediately.
While the other kids are terrified and confused.
She uses the chaos, runs back up to the third floor, quickly places the knife in Yousri's hand. He was found in a kneeling or prostrate position, completing the staged suicide scene.
Then she grabs the injured son and flees.
Right. She runs out, finds a relative. They rush the boy to the hospital, and thankfully his life is saved.
But the cover-up itself unravels almost immediately.
Instantly. Hospital staff see a child with a stab wound. They call police. Standard procedure for something so suspicious. And the police notice Amal's extreme agitation, her tension. It doesn't add up.
And the forensics team arrives at the house.
And their findings are conclusive. The staging fails. Yousri was murdered, slaughtered, actually. The wounds couldn't possibly be self-inflicted given their nature and angle. The physical evidence screamed homicide.
So, faced with the science, Amal.
She confesses immediately, tells him everything. This educated woman, no criminal past, just lays it all out.
But the investigation uncovered two really crucial, almost unbelievable points, didn't it?
Yes. Two massive surprises. First, the forensic medical exam on Yousri. It proved, beyond any doubt, zero evidence he'd ever requested those forbidden acts she claimed. Her entire justification, pure delusion, he was innocent.
Completely innocent of the very thing she used to rationalize killing him.
Exactly. And the second surprise, the psychiatric evaluation. A specialized panel. Their conclusion:
No mental illness.
none. They found her fully competent, legally responsible for every single action. This wasn't madness in a clinical sense. It was, according to the experts, a conscious choice fueled by delusion.
So she's charged. Murder of her husband, attempted murder of her son.
And the case is referred to the Grand Mufti, which in that system is often a step towards validating a death sentence. The whole cascade: prosperity, fear, superstition, delusion, murder. All without any rational basis.
Okay, let's try to process this. It's such a disturbing story. Amal and Yousri. It feels like a cautionary tale about how fear, especially that deep-seated social fear of Hassad, can spiral when it meets superstition.
It really does. Her anxiety about external judgment somehow became more real to her than her actual life, her actual husband. She chose to believe the fear over the reality.
And the investigation really emphasized that point, right? That while envy might be real, turning to charlatans, to sorcery, that path only leads downward.
Absolutely. The sources basically say, look, envy can damage things, but the response is critical. Seeking protection in the occult, in that talismanic book,
Yeah.
that wasn't protection. That was the catalyst for destruction. The very thing meant to save her home obliterated it.
It's that terrifying mental journey. From fearing something outside the envy to letting something false inside the book, the delusion take complete control of her rational mind.
She actively surrendered her critical thinking, her education, her intellect. None of it mattered once she committed to believing the superstition over the evidence of her own life.
And the final verdict reflects that she was considered sane, responsible, yet her actions were driven entirely by an imagined reality she treated as more real than anything else. It really makes you think. What stands out to you about that specific moment, that choice, where an educated mind decides a magical book holds more truth than 17 years of lived experience?